Welcome to the Phēnyx Lounge, where we're building a community centered around fitness, wellness, and mindset. We're curating a list of teachers, experts, and influencers to share their pro tips for staying healthy and learning how to rise again in all aspects of life. If you hear any gems, be sure to hashtag Phēnyx Athletica and tag us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm your host, Money Madu, and I'm excited to bring you guys episode 6 of the Phēnyx Lounge with Ed Latimore. Ed Latimore is a former heavyweight boxer who now holds a degree in physics and writes for a living. So once again, I appreciate you coming on to the show, Ed. You're one of the bigger names that I've had so far as like social media presence, and just with you being a heavyweight boxer and then just kind of converting that into a money making machine with your penmanship. I just think it's a great opportunity, and it emboldens what we do with Phēnyx of always having the attitude of, it doesn't matter how many times you're knocked down, you always have the opportunity to rise again. So welcome to the show. Happy to have you, man.
Hey man, thank you for having me. Really, I don't think I will ever get used to hearing that, and I feel like someone else said that to me, relatively recently, that I was one of the bigger names, and I was like, okay, that's interesting because like in my head, I'm still I'm a guy just putting out my content and growing, and like when I look at the numbers, yeah, I can't deny that I do okay in terms of pulling in a decent audience, but you never really quite forget that everyone has to start somewhere, and I had to start somewhere, and really it's just a matter of not just grinding. Grinding's part of it, but there's a smart grind to everything, and I think I've done that all right.
Yeah. So could you go into the background of how, like, who you are and how you've been able to get started and transition into like what made you become a boxer?
Oh man, what made me become a boxer? I don't know. Maybe too many drinks one night. I couldn't tell you. No, I started. So I started boxing back in I was 22, so 2007 ish. Sounds right. 2006 maybe. I started boxing amateur, and then I had a pretty good amateur career. I finished with a national ranking and a national title, and had some great experiences. Probably made more money as an amateur than I did as a pro, which is an unusual situation. But timing is everything, and sometimes you take advantage of great opportunities. And I got presented with a great opportunity. I trained at the same camp out of in Los Angeles, California, specifically Carson, California. It was called the Rock Gym, and they recruited me when I beat Dominic Brazil, who ended up going on to represent us in the Olympics. And he had a great pro career, and another guy, Charles Martin. We were all in the same camp together, and they were just recruiting these big old huge athletes, former Division I athletes from around the country, and then I managed to squeak my way in because I am not a Division I athlete, nor am I particularly huge for a heavyweight boxer. I'm 6'1". The heaviest I've ever fought at is I think 232
Mhm.
maybe, and that's like, I mean, that's miniature. I just for my skill level, like there's some small guys, but they're very good. I was never that good, but I got better. I mean, I got good enough, I guess. Um, so during my boxing career, I had a few occurrences in my life where I was like, okay, I know boxing is not going to last forever, and I know the money's not that good. I need to make sure I have a kind of a pivot plan, something to do when I leave. And all I knew at that time was go to school. So I sat and really dwelled on this and made a really hard decision about, what was it? It's 2020, so 6 years ago. 6 years ago, then I woke up and I said I need to enlist because I needed money to go to school,
Right.
and I just needed to build my resume up. And I had a terrible job. I was working at T-Mobile selling phones. I couldn't get it much better. So I said, let me enlist in the military so I can get money for school and start building my resume up. I served in the National Guard while I was fighting. So, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year to kind of deal with, which is not quite accurate. It's, but it's close enough to where I was able to conduct the rest of my life and do pretty well.
Mhm.
And in doing so, I went on and smoked community college because I was really focused in and down it. And I went back to school at 28. I was not a young person when I did this. 28, and I did community college grade, transferred to a place called Duquesne University, where I ended up graduating with my BA in physics, and then throughout that whole period of time, there was a period of time, I think it would have been 2017, because I lost my first fight in 2016, really embarrassing, got knocked out on national TV in the first round. You never really live that down, but what happens is you just go do other things. You realize that it's not that bad. So what I ended up doing, I took the year off after that fight. I fought one more fight in 2006 to a draw, and then I said I'm taking the year off because I wanted to finish school. I was beat up. I just needed a break from everything. And so I did that, and I finished. And during that time, I finished most of the classes of my degree. But I also realized it was the first time I started making a little money online. I was like, okay, maybe there's something here to this. Maybe I can be really good at this. Maybe I can push. And so I did that, and it worked out. And I was like, okay, let's be real here. I'm not. I'm smart. Like, I'm smart enough to get a physics degree,
Right.
and my math skills are good enough to keep up with the class. Because you got to understand something. Math is to physics as like vocabulary is to literature. I mean, you just can't do it without math. So I had to really, dig into math, and there'll be some stories about that, I'm sure, today. But during all this, I said, okay, I'm not going to go to grad school. I don't have anything I'm interested in to study at the next level. And I really don't want to get a job in finance. And I wasn't really interested in being a teacher. So what was I going to do? And I said, all right, I'm gonna bet on myself. We're gonna make this online business thing work. When I go for it, and it's not really an online business. I tell people all the time, I'm not an online businessman. I just am smart enough to use the principles to kind of let me be myself online. And then, during this time, I had some cool experiences too. I had to, make money when I lost my sponsorships and everything, but no one would hire me because they wanted me to work full time. Because now at this point, it's funny. I went from having a problem where I couldn't get any better job than customer service to where no one wanted me as an intern. They were like, full time, we'll fly you out here so you can go through the training. And they were talking starting at 70, 80 a year, and I wouldn't even have to finish my degree. And I was like, okay, sounds good, but not really what I want. So I ended up tutoring high school kids. Set my hours first. I set it at $35 an hour, and then the demand was so great because something I learned is that all the people who are good at math and physics, good enough to certainly to tutor and work in it, they have jobs. They're not interested. So there was this like glut of these kids that needed tutoring, and I had a great connection with an upper to upper middle class to lower upper class, I guess, high school, and so all the parents could afford me, and it really just changed my life there too. And I actually I loved it so much. I ended up doing it a year longer than I needed to. Like, but when I started, I needed the money. Like, I was paying rent, like a stripper. Like, the money was in my drawer. I was pulling it every month. So when I ended it, I was just like, I mean, I think I gave like a session away once. I was just like, I don't need the money. I'm very much here because I want to be here. I don't need the money at all. But it really changed my life, not just emotionally, because you make these bonds, you realize what you're really good at, which is explaining and teaching and breaking things down. But it was also kind of my baptism by fire into the world of being self-employed, because now I had to set my rates and timing and schedule and market and deal with all that. And there were skills I picked up in boxing that helped too, and all that. So that, and then when it was ended, I was like, all right, let's keep doing this. And it's been a very nice life, very very happy with how things have turned out. But I know that it was because I made decisions. That's what has to happen. You have to make the hard decisions. Sometimes they seem hard in the moment, and then they end up working out for you in the long
run. So with that, the tutoring part of it. So was it you just a one-man show, or did you?
One-man show, man. Well, I started. Okay. So I ended up starting with this little company called Varsity Tutors, and they were like, they would match you with somebody, and they were paying pay you $17 an hour, and I was like, okay, that's okay, but I ain't gonna and it was sporadic too. It wasn't like consistent. And then one day my coach asked me, he said, "What are you doing for money these days?" I said, "I'm tutoring." He says, "Let me talk to my wife and see if we have anything." His wife was or is a counselor at the high school I did tutoring at. And then they give me a call that night and they go, "Look, he can tutor, but we don't really need any more like reading or literature or history. We need like math or science. We can do that. That's great." And I said, "Are you kidding? That's like all I can do. Don't give me anything else. That's what I'm doing." And then I got my first recommendation, and really changed the kid's life. Apparently, man. Now I'm great friends with the family and everything. You build this mind. You tutor somebody. I had it from ninth grade to the 11th, because by the senior year they don't really need you unless they're trying to go to something really competitive, and at that point they're smarter than me, and I can't do anything with that. But yeah, that's how that went down, man. It was me as a one man show, all word of mouth, which is really good feeling when people go, "You did such," because I remember the first day I realized that I was really having that kind of word of mouth business come through. It wasn't when the first family heard of me from another family at a school. I was tutoring a girl, and I made a reference to something I saw on the news that I thought happened at the high school I was at, and she goes, "I didn't have school today," and I was like, "What? Why? Didn't you go to?" Like, "No, I don't go to Mars, which is the school I go to." I was like, "So how'd you find out about me?" "Oh, you tutor my neighbor's daughter, and I'm friends with her." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." So, well, word of mouth is there. There ain't nothing like it when you do such a good job that people are recommending you to do other things with other people.
So with that, was there any kind of not a low point, but where a time that you probably got like overwhelmed? Just I'm sure like you had with the word of mouth, there's a lot of demand. So
Yeah. So I dealt with that first, the overwhelming part. I mean, the way I dealt with it, I started raising my prices, and I realized that like so a funny thing happens. It was so predictable. I did it for 3 years. Every year it happened. The first time I was not ready for it. The next 2 years I was. Um, the parents would right around March, they get like the midterms, and they go, "It doesn't look like you're going to pass," and so I got to come in and play cleanup. And playing, first of all, the first year I was in it, it was a lot of relearning stuff, because now what happens is, okay, I've got this 3 years in physics. I've seen math. I don't have to think about whatsoever, and I know how to learn chemistry if I see it. But chemistry is not what I'm like super comfortable with. But then I got to go back and remember a bunch of other stuff I haven't used at all. But I can just pick it up quickly because I speak the language of math now. I speak the language of science. But that first year it took a little while. I had to remember stuff. I was actually tutoring the kids and then going home and going like, okay, is that right? And then studying and making sure I had to refresh a bunch of stuff. And it actually had a really cool effect on my academics though. But like we have to take this thing called the major fields exam for physics. All the graduating kids have to take it. They want to see how much physics you actually know. And I had a light version. I had a BA in physics, not a BS, which just means I took a separate track, and I didn't take all of the classes. I took the minimum required to be considered by the American Physics Association as a student of physics. And but I ended up scoring like the 60th percentile, or it was like 65th against all majors across the country, because I had been versed so much in the basics and seeing it and using it, and just my mind was sharper for helping and teaching, and it was really I felt good about that. I got extra points too to help me graduate. Well, it didn't help; it was just a bonus.
and so kind of like transitioning with you doing writing, like was that something that you've always been good at, or just something that you just allow time to perfect?
So it's funny. Like I look at even the old writing on my site from like when I first started it, like in 2014. Really, I guess all the way back to 2012. We go to the site, it says my earliest entry is 2015, but we changed over to a new system, so it looks like that. So that writing is awful. You kidding? Like it's bad. I'm looking through one of my old books that I wrote then and re-edited and cleaned up and made into a free ebook. Terrible writing. And looking through the first self-published book, not so terrible, but still pretty bad. Like certainly not to my standard. I'm cleaning it up too before I do a whole relaunch and resell. But what happened is I've always wanted to write. I always liked the idea of communication. So I just kept at it, kept learning, kept producing stuff, got other eyes on it, kept doing well, learning the short form with Twitter and what works, learning the long form with my blog, what works, and you just keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And now like there are these assets that are all built on my words, and they fund my life. So but I wouldn't want anyone to think that this was I woke up and I had a talent for this. No way, man. You should. I mean, this is bad. It's not okay. So maybe I'm being super harsh on myself, but I think that's how you have to be anyway. You have to be your own biggest critic, and I know that the standard that I write now, like to put it in perspective, we actually wiped off a bunch of articles on the site. I mean, everything that has always been there is not there now. There were some things we had to clean up.
So with that, do you feel that, I guess, with the transition of social media, uh, obviously, I think Twitter is your biggest platform with that.
Yeah.
When did you see the change to where you kind of exploded with a lot of people just like latching on to the things and the content that you're putting out?
Um, that's a great question. I don't know if I ever noticed if there was one day where it was like, wow, you know how it works on Twitter is that you just keep plugging along, chugging along, you get some eyes on your stuff, so plugging along, you accumulate followers, and then because of the way the sharing network works, somebody with a huge following sees you or takes note of you. And then one of the things that really works in my advantage is that I've got a background and an interesting story that makes people want to have me on their podcast. And so I come on the podcast and then they put out and promote it and it does great. I mean, a lot of my stuff has been gradual, but at the same time, there have been one day Scott Adams was like, "Oh, hey, that was one of my favorite follows," and I got 5,000 followers in an hour. And the residual after that, I think I got 6,000 followers that month. And then Shane Parrish did an interview with me with his knowledge podcast, and that was huge. And when that dropped, I think I got like 1,500 followers that morning. I was on with I did again on Scott Adams Periscope. Uh, 1,000, with Prethicast already. She's a big in the tech industry. I did a podcast with her, and that was like I got like 1,000 while people were watching. But overall, it's just this really kind of just gradual grind. And then because these people have influence, they connect you to other people with influence. And I always tell people if you want to like do this game pro, and the way I do it, I don't know if you was trying to build an online business without your face. I got nothing for you there. But if
Right.
you want to do the personal brand type thing, I
Right.
tell people all the time, you gotta you gotta you know put your best foot forward like 99% of the time, man. Always. I'm not saying you gotta like pander or anything, but what do you get out of being an asshole or trolling or something? All you do is potentially repel people that can help elevate you. It's to the point now, I got so many people who follow me. Like I can be silly a little more often than I'm not, with my crackhead jokes, whatever. Or like today, for example, I said, that you can't be surprised that people are rioting, right? And we're talking about things. I said you can't be surprised about this. We watched numerous murderers get off because they have a badge. We We watched how the country responded to peaceful protests. So what do you expect now? You know, and that lost me like in an hour. I probably lost 100 followers. Probably, I mean, people are still probably
Right.
falling off.
Right.
But where's the balance at? The balance is I got people like David Ayer who wrote, you know, Training Day. He's always retweeting, interacting with me. He's got like 400,000-500,000 followers, and all of a sudden, boom! It's just, like I don't notice because what I've done is I've built a foundation up strong enough to where I can be me always now. And I don't really have to worry about it. Now, I could always be me, right? But uh I guess maybe I'm lucky. I mean, sometimes I think that I think I'm lucky a lot of times because I get Twitter, you know, like imagine if, you know, I was born 50 years ago, or Twitter wasn't invented now. You know, two things don't ever cross up.
Right. Right.
But I get it. I get it, and then I use it to move my mailing list, to move my website. It's really a great tool, and then combine that with my ability to teach. You know, my little course, my little ebook on Twitter. Yeah, it pays every doesn't pay for everything, but like that ebook is probably not 20,000 words. I would be surprised if it's 15. I know it's more than 10 because I partitioned it out. But that ebook and that course has realistically put $150,000 in my pocket. And that is nothing to sneeze at because I'm factoring in when I was splitting on certain promotions. Um, but it's because I understand what I'm doing and I have a good audience and a big audience. And when you have a great audience and you built it up, you can you can't do anything, right?
Right.
But I have a lot of support.
Right.
And that support I've earned, that support I take seriously, man. Like I'm never mean to people and stuff like that. Like there's no reason for that.
Right.
Just ruins life when you do that kind of thing.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think because that's another big thing for me. I think that if people are allowed to, in a sense, be themselves, they are able to, in a sense, operate at a higher level just simply because when you're not stressing about, this person's thinking about me this way, or I have to appease this person, then you almost in a sense putting restrictions on yourselves. Yeah. So like when you're able to like have that peace of mind, it's like, yo, I'm just gonna be me, do what I do. And in a sense, some people are lucky where it doesn't matter what they do, in a sense, they pretty much flourish.
Yeah. Now I have my theories about why that happens. The biggest operating theory I have, I mean, aside from, you know, I have to be realistic here. Like we were talking about earlier, I think I'm great with communication, and then, you know, I put that together with the patience to kind of break things down, and having a natural personality geared towards the negotiation rather than now I can be very confrontational. I just understand, given my background and where I'm from and how I grew up, the cost of conflict. So I would rather avoid it if possible. And it makes more sense to build allies. Okay, so we got all that. But also, I have a life, and I have a thing that, like, you can go Google me without social media, and that helps. That brings people, and that makes them fascinated. You know, having a story is really half the battle. A lot of these kids, they want to build and be influencers. I'm like, you know, you could all that energy you're taking trying to be an influencer. I can't speak for girls, you know, because girls just kind of gotta be physically appealing and they'll be okay. At the very least, they won't suffer.
Right.
But
it's the
but
truth.
if you go put together a story, you know, and a life, and you do something, this is a lot easier. It's a lot easier because people get fascinated, they get interested, they tend to take what you say a little more seriously. I can say a thing that people, if anyone else said it, would be a platitude, but because I said it, and you can come and look and be like, well, that's kind of cheesy, but you know, he did it, so I don't know what to say. I mean, I know where he came from, I'm where he's at now, so you know, he's telling me to follow my dreams, but
It's like
he did it too. Right, like that matters. That matters more than people cared to admit, even on. That's why I don't worry about people be tripping about, oh man, he stole my tweet and copied. I'm like, man, look, it ain't gonna hit the same way. Like, so I'm not worried about let him take it. It ain't gonna hit the same way, right? It ain't fun. I'm the one with the personality and the humor here.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously with someone like you, like if people steal your tweets at this point, it's not going to affect anything. I
Not
think
only that, but people tag, because now I didn't realize I've had people tag me on when another big account will jack a tweet or put it on IG. People were like, I'm pretty sure I read that on that.
right.
And that's that's cool. Like, but even if they didn't, I mean, I'm not about to sit here and say you could take everything away
Right.
and I'd build it back up, because a lot of it's luck and timing. Somebody just gets on and they're big and they care and they help me grow. But a lot of it is my grind and my content, everything I do.
Right. So, kind of like switching back to you, like your boxing career. Were you? I know you mentioned that you said you were in the military for a little bit to go back to school. Was that also while you were still boxing?
That was also while I was still boxing. I left for basic training on July 4th. I had 3 pro fights. Not July 4th, June 4th. I left for basic training on June 4th. I had 3 pro fights at that point. And then I didn't see the gym again until January.
Mm-hmm.
And I was all types of uncoordinated and awkward, man. It was but you because you lose stuff, and it wasn't any way to like practice for real.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I went and did the basic training AIT while I was boxing, full-fledged pro, and then came back and I made it work, man. Had to make it work.
Was there any low points in that time frame? Like, was there any maybe major injuries or anything?
Major injuries while I was what the heck happened? I'm trying to think. So there's the normal injuries you get. Like, I got cut a few times on my brow, but in terms of injuries at basic or in the military training thing that translated over and affected me, boxing, no. Very, very fortunate that I had a relatively injury-free career. I had a surgery my amateur career, but that was when I was in California, so I was able to eat and I was taken care of, and I had medical coverage. That helps, because if that had happened without me being in California, I don't know how I would have had that fixed. Just these little things that happen, just lucky, man.
So following the first knockout, well, that was, I guess, the only
one. Yep.
Yeah. Was there any kind of a mental thing that you have to go through to kind of get past that? Or was it one of those like?
Oh, absolutely, man. You ever break up with your girl and you can't look at anything,
right,
or do anything, and then it takes a little while before you can, like, it was like that. I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't even say I got knocked out, man. I would say I got stopped. Right? It's painful. And then one day I said, okay, yeah, I remember exactly. It was like June. It was hot. I had just made like my first affiliate sale for $500. I was like, oh, that's cool. And I said, you know what? If I'm gonna get back in the ring, I got to be able to look at this. So I watched it because it's on YouTube. So I went and watched it, and I was like, okay, now I'm past it. But that took 7 months, man. Like, and like, if I was a full-fledged pro, like if I was Anthony Joshua, I was a full-fledged pro then.
yeah.
Right? If I had nothing else to do, right? Because that's the thing, I had other things to do. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, man, you only got one loss. Why aren't you fighting again? I'm like, the opportunity cost. I can make more money not getting hit.
Using your brain.
Yeah, and be good. Every now and then I'll watch a fight on YouTube and be like, man, I might get back in there,
Right.
man. And I remember, man, I'm 35, man. And I'm not hungry.
Right.
Like, you gotta be hungry.
Right.
I could go train every day, but then I think like, oh man, I gotta do this and gotta do that. Like, nah, I'm not. But you know what? I still think because I mean, I'm in great condition. My body recovers still fine from my workout, thank goodness, because that was apparently supposed to start happening when I was 30, but I'm good there. I haven't drank in it'll be 7 years this December, so I'm well preserved, right? And didn't have a lot of damage on the device. So if I could fight again, but I'm not fighting heavyweight again. No way. My guys are too big, man. I'm walking around right now healthy at like 216. I'll cut that weight down to 200 and be a cruiserweight.
Right. Was the cutting the alcohol just a personal decision, or was there a particular?
Oh no, man! I was a full-fledged alcoholic, man. You crazy? Oh no, yeah. So this is what my second book is about, man. Just the emotional kind of transition from drinking to not drinking and what you go through. Because I wrote that book. It's called Sober Letters to My Drunken Self, and I wrote that as if I was writing a letter to myself.
Right.
Kind of got myself through the process, and I said, if I want to do this for me, I can't imagine what another person would get out of this. So, for me though, I just continually kept having problems and making mistakes, having errors in my life, and finally, one day I was like, okay, I looked in the future and I said, man, I'm 28 right now. That's how old I was, and I'll be 33 one day. Am I going to be 33 with more options or fewer options? And I said, I want them more options. And I said, all right, what's keeping you from having these options? And all my problems kept coming back to something related to alcohol. And I said, all right, man, I got a bunch of stuff on the plate right now. I just enrolled back in school, in the military, my professional boxing career, and I just met my girl. And I was saying that she had great potential. Right about that, she's still around, right? And I said, if I mess any of this up, I want it to be because I messed it up. I don't want it to be because of something related to alcohol.
Gotcha.
So I cut it out, and unfortunately I was so busy I didn't notice a lot of the problems. But eventually you do, because there's a lot that goes with it. And I'm really, I think about this all the time. There's a whole timeline that just didn't happen with just problems that would have put my relationship in danger, that would have put my freedom in danger, that would have ruined my fighting, that would have made me look way worse. Because I've been very cognizant of me trying to build a public persona, even when there was only 2,000 people follow me. All of this could be an issue, and I made sure that I never walked down that timeline. So I don't know what that Ed is doing in the alternative universe.
Right.
He might be a millionaire playboy drinking martinis on the beach, or he's doing 10 to 15 for some type of DUI and kill somebody, vehicular or homicide. So I don't know, but I know this Ed right here is really happy and sober, and I don't really miss alcohol, which is great, because I know some guys, they get the craving. I ain't never had it. Well, I won't say I never had it. I'm disciplined, so I know how to deal with it. Because once I made the decision, the decision was made. There was going to be no, let myself have a little drink. It was it. I was like, okay, I'm taking this seriously, and hands down, best decision I ever made. Wow. The only in terms of like where my life, how my overall life has gone, it's a tie, but they all tie together because they were about the same time. Doing the things and going to finish school, or getting sober, man. Because, but really, they kind of play together, because it was a whole. I said that I put a post out about this one the day that my final day of class. I was like, I'm done 4 years, whatever. It's not really about the degree; it's about the changes that happened in my life that led to me getting that degree.
Right. So. Definitely about that process, because like it's one thing I'm in a sense learning as well. It's like, for the longest, I'm 29. I turned 30 in November, but this is one of those things where back when I was working in the corporate world, there's always that thing of trying to get to that next level versus just enjoy the process. Like, it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I can envision all these things happening. But instead of me stressing myself out about not being where I think I should be yet, just go ahead and enjoy the process now. And then, you know, next thing I know it, I'll in a sense be there. So it's definitely.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you know, I don't know. Well, I do know you do need a goal, right? A goal is very important. But I think people forget that once you kind of have an idea in your mind and you make up your mind on it, that's done. It is now a seed in your head, and all you have to do is take every action with consideration of that goal, and it will eventually manifest itself. It is not an instantaneous thing, but eventually it will be. You know, I get people all the time. People ask me, not a lot of people, some people do, right? Like, oh, you know, how can I do what you do? They because I just got back. For example, I was living in Portugal for like we were there for 5 months, 4 months before damn COVID-19
Right.
it messed everything up. They're like, oh, how can we do that? And I'm just like, well, it's not really. I mean, there's no instant thing here. Like, like I started working on this dream. Like, you know, I had a very clear dream of like what I wanted to do, like go to Portugal and be there. And then when I did the math, as if I'd have to take care of my girl, who because she's the reason I'd be there. She's the Portuguese one. But I started working on that dream in my mind December 2017. I didn't get there until 2019 November, but it happened. Same way, I remember the first time I went to South America. I went to Cartagena, Colombia, and I remember when I went, I dug up a Facebook post I made in 2011 where I was like, I'm gonna redouble my efforts to get to Cartagena, right? And I was like, oh, well, now it's reality because that's where I wanted to go. Now, and then, you know, now I know it's just a matter of seeing it in your head and stuff, and whatever you see will materialize. You know, my next goal that I'm working on right now, somebody gonna pay me to write a book. Probably won't be my next one, but it's gonna be before 2022. Someone's gonna pay me a six-figure advance to write a book, and so everything I'm doing now is with that conscious goal. And you know, when you have a goal, that polarizes every other action. So maybe you get a bunch of other things that you did is like a side benefit.
Right.
But the main goal, you keep working towards that because I know, like for example, I know to have that to be able to command that type of advance, I know that I need to show that I'll be able to move enough copies. So that means everything I can. So now we're back to maybe I should build that YouTube channel, right? Because that is in alignment with the goal.
Right.
But if it wasn't, you know, it wasn't. But wow, you actually, I think this podcast is some clarity. Now I think I know what I got to do. I got to get on YouTube because with my following already, it would be very quick to to grow the channel and then make a mark and be solid there.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the data there, like you said before, I think before we started recording, like YouTube isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
No, it is a fantastic resource and search engine. In fact, don't be someone there. They're talking about the president. The hell is he doing? He signed some order about social media companies, and you know, don't be surprised, man, because these things are more powerful. We have never had this level of we have two things. We have knowledge. We have speed of implementation and acquisition, man. That's it. Like you can learn anything whenever you want. That's and wherever you want. For almost, I mean, like if you ain't got Wi-Fi, you ain't got Wi-Fi. But like almost anything, anywhere. So that's an unprecedented power, man. Like, and the smart people are taking advantage of it. And I need to be one of those smart people.
or be even smarter in a sense, utilize the people that would be able to grow grow your businesses or brand. Because I guess that's one of the things as I'm also in the path of growing the personal brand myself, and just with Twitter, kind of like what you were mentioning earlier, just kind of like being around people who obviously provide value, that have like a higher reach, having them retweet you, and obviously me myself just providing that value, that has allowed me, like whenever I'm selling a product or whatever it is, like if I post it on Instagram, it's not as big, it doesn't hit like it does with Twitter.
Right.
So
Because it's that speed, man. It's that sharing, and people still respond to words. Pictures have their place. So
right,
do words.
right. So what is a common misconception people have about you? Like whether
you,
people
you know
rolling
it's
a lot of
it's funny. Someone asked this on Facebook. What's a common misconception people have about you? And then just answer. And the most common one in real life, that I'm rich. People think I'm rich, man, because I'm time free,
Mhm.
and my income is like way higher than normal, but like I think people think I'm rich, and I'm like, bro, I still gotta work. Like, to me, if I ain't gotta work, that's rich. I still
Right.
gotta grind and shit. So that's an interesting one. I've had to deal with that accusation a few times directly, and it's one of those interesting accusations, because it's just like, what am I supposed to say? Like, no, peasant. Like, no, like I'm like you, but I'm
Right.
not really like you, because I can do whatever I want. I can go gallivant Europe for a few months if I want. No, not worry. So there's that. Probably the other misconception is that I'm like this super disciplined guy. I am disciplined. I am not organized. I mean, I'm very all or nothing, and that probably is one of the reasons when it was a negative that led to my alcohol. But now it's just, I'm either going to chill or work hard, and I'm not really good at the whole in between thing.
Right.
So a lot of times I'll sit around all day and watch Narcos, man. Just got into Narcos, man. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, really cool series. And
Yeah.
then I'm just discovering, because I look, man. I ain't never. This is a tangent. I'll get back to the main point. This is a nice place that I've lived in. And on top of that, I had money to like put nice stuff in it.
Right.
So I got
Right.
a 50-inch TV on the wall, mounted on the wall, and the sound bar underneath over the fireplace. This is my apartment with the fireplace, right? And so I'll just lay back and enjoy my movie theater like experience. Uh, and I watched Narcos Mexico, and now I got to watch the original one about Pablo Escobar.
Yeah.
It's a good time, man. But yeah, people will see me eating ice cream and be like, man, eating carbs. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I do. But the thing is, like, but I'm also able to just shut it off. Like, I'm doing keto now because I want to get under 200 pounds, because I know I should be there. And I'm not unhealthy. It just is like, that's where I want to be, because I know there is somewhat, because I want to keep it as muscle, but low on body fat is never bad for you. Really, if a man, you can get into like 11, 12, walking around probably right now, like 15, 16, but my body's really comfortable.
Mhm.
There, it's like, what are we gonna do, bro? Like, why are we gonna use up this extra energy? No. And I'm like, nah, we're gonna do what I say. So there's that. So misconceptions, yeah, that I have, that I'm rich, or that I'm super organized. And people, I think people don't realize how vain I am. Real vain, man. Really. And 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 here's the thing. No one, even my mom is sometimes surprised. And I'm like, well, I'm vain, but I'm practical. Like I was never the guy that was gonna go buy nice clothes when I was only making like $1,000 a month before taxes. Like,
Right.
I was never dumb about like flashing and shining and stunting. Like, no way. But bro, like this fucking hair, man. I ain't had this 2 years ago. I got a hairline and shit because I paid for the transplant. I got two of them, right? And now it grows, like, man. I had a fro before I had to call my barber because it was
Right.
that. I got some got two. No, I have two like tailored outfits in there. All my shirts I get from nice places. I try to, but because I figure like this, I say I don't spend money on alcohol. I ain't taking no girls out. Just my girl. So alcohol and girls, I don't do anything, and I don't eat garbage. I do eat healthy. I mean, ice cream is probably, and I have that like in the summer once a week. But like other than that, I don't have like a tub of ice cream in the house. But because I figured that I'm not wasting my money on anything, and I make a decent amount, and I put a lot of work into my life, I figured where I want to spend my money at. I want to look nice. I want to travel, and I don't want to eat good food, and that's it. Like I mean, because like I put a post on IG when I got the 50-inch TV, right? And I was like, this was supposed to be the sign that I made it. Instead, somewhere in the last 5 years, the technology became so cheap.
Right.
This was like $300, man.
Right.
Like, this ain't stunning. Oh, I feel like it, but it's nice. And what else? Yeah. So travel. Like, I love the opera. That's another place I spend a lot of money on fine arts tickets. Things like that. Opera, symphony. Don't really like the ballet. Can't get into it. But opera and symphony and musicals. Fun times, man. These are the what's funny. These are the things like you realize you like when you stop drinking. And when it's not like let's go to it's not like let's go to the bar. I say one of the best things about my girlfriend is that I get to be myself, and these are things that I've always wanted to be able to do because I never got to experience them growing up. And then I found somebody who's like just as weird and nerdy as I am about this kind of stuff. So it's a good time, and I'm happy that I get to like enjoy it. I don't have to think about, I want to go to see. Like I had a buddy perform at that. If you ever get a chance to go to the Kennedy Center in DC, just an amazing building. I had a buddy perform down there. Met through Twitter, right? Opera singer.
Right. Twitter.
And I was like, we're just gonna go, and the tickets were. I mean, I have no idea what's like expensive or not expensive. The tickets were $169 a pop for the seats we had, and I was happy. It was like, don't have to think about this. Just get the tickets, drive down to DC, get a hotel, and then like see my buddy and see a performance in opera because that's what's important to me. But what did I not spend it on? I didn't go to the bar. I don't drink and nothing like that. So it's a balance.
Right. Is there a new, not a I made it purchase, but is there a new purchase where it's like I have one stupid purchase that I'm gonna make and this is it?
Ooh, a one stupid purchase. You know what I'm probably gonna end up doing? I'm probably gonna end up purchasing, because I'm gonna run this car into the ground. Like I ran my last car into the ground, or rather, more specifically, some drunk motherfucker hit me on Cinco de Mayo, and so I had to total it. But and then I went and got a Cadillac CTS. So I was like, oh, it's cool. But then, me being a bargain hunter, but still just trying to look good, it's still kind of old. It's got the rear view beep, not the camera, the beep. So, but it's cool. Like it fits my style. But where I'm going with that, the next kind of stupid purchase, I was just telling my girl this. I said, like, I'm probably gonna go buy a Mustang convertible. I really do. So I like the way they look. I've always wanted to drive one. But here's the thing. No, I'm not gonna go buy that thing new. That's gonna be very used. Realistically, depending on how I weigh, older than this car. But that's that to me is the balling on a budget, man. Fly everywhere in comfort class, and then you build up enough points so you can that first class flight, that is cheap. That's another great thing that happened, man. This person I'm with, her gig, she runs a travel agency herself, so we get all these people see these pictures and places. I'm like, I mean, it costs money. It didn't cost as much as you think. We the last year, this time, everything is coming up in our memories. We were in Alaska for 2 weeks, one week on a boat, 1 week in the woods, and people are like, oh, it looks so great. That much cost on our leg. I'm like, yeah. Meanwhile, or we were in Morocco last Thanksgiving. On a camel around a camel on Thanksgiving. And it looks crazy. I'm like, man, you wouldn't believe what I paid for them. And people think when I say that, I mean, like, no, the other way.
You right.
You wouldn't believe. So it really is about getting the most out of life. It's not about And I think this is where that perception comes from, that kind of misperception people have, because we think these things cost a lot of money. When in reality, it's the time you don't have. If you can separate your income from your time, you don't need a lot of money to have a good life and really enjoy and get the most out of life that you can get.
Has business for you, or like your workout routine or anything of that nature, changed much since COVID started? Or been
Yeah. I let myself get a little weak, get a little flabby. It happened. But that was because here's the thing: when all this happened, we flew over from Europe, and then we spent like 3 weeks in Florida and came up here, and and then I was like procrastinating going out to run because that's all I could really do, running body weight stuff. I was like, and then finally I just did it. It sucks because your endurance is the first thing to go
right.
and the last thing to come back. But I went and did it, and now I have I have a pretty good routine. There's a little trail across the street, go run up the hills, get something in. That's part of the reason why I'm doing keto, because I know that I'm not able to go lift the way I want to lift. I found 2 gyms with some hard hitters who don't care, and so I'm able to go lift some weights finally. But the biggest change though was the road work is really bad because there's two. All you gotta do is burn calories, right? You gotta burn calories in a deficit to make sure your weight stays good. And you just so have people like running for whatever reason. It's not really even the best way to burn fat. Uh, but when you don't have access, like our complex is a gym, can't go use the gym.
Right.
Uh, so now it's just, go sprint up the hill and jog it, sprint it, jog it, wear your legs out, and then you come home happy. That's the biggest change, though, is that I've put a lot more road work in now. And I think that's going to continue. I think this summer you'll see a lot of people doing a lot more walks, a lot more hikes, a lot more stuff of that nature because the movie's gone. I don't know what they're doing in Houston, but they already canceled our fireworks celebration. But
Really?
Texas is one of the states. It's so interesting they've politicized this thing, and they're like, Texas is one of the red states that reopen. And I'm like, cool. Now Pennsylvania, we're slowly but surely, like next week, I think they announced that we'll be able to have like outdoor dining,
Right.
which is great because it's just nice. I mean, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's been interesting because like it's been probably 2 weeks now since they kind of like opened up, like for example, dining. They just did it where it's like you have to be at 25% capacity. But I think phase 2 is happening where other things are beginning to start happening. So, we'll see how it goes. But as far as like the walks and stuff, so I live near Buffalo Bayou, and like once COVID started and or became prevalent, they were just kind of like shutting everything down in a sense. The amount of people that you see just running, cycling, like walking, it was crazy. It's like it was amazing.
right. And you guys, here's what we were saying that up here. One of the things that really helped them keep a wrap on it, and I have no idea what the weather was like in Texas. Here in the Northeast, we started May and ended April with like record cold. We had a few days. It's not unusual to see snow in April. It is unusual to see it in May.
Right.
The latest day it snowed in Pennsylvania, I think, is like May. I think 25th is the record they put up. We had a few snowy days in May, and you just never see that.
Right.
So it was really cold. People weren't trying to go out.
Right.
Yeah, and now we're going to end the month, though, with record heat. It's been like 90 degrees the past 3 days,
Right.
and it's not with no real sign of it cooling down.
Yeah.
And now people are going out, and so people going to take the risk, man, and that is it is what it is. I just I don't want to get anyone sick, but as far as me, if it kills me, I had a good life, right?
Right. Right.
But I don't fit in any of the risk categories, thank goodness.
Right. Well, this is a personal question for me. Where do you sit out right now, weight wise?
Weight wise, fine. I weigh myself every day, man. Every day. It's probably not a good thing, but whatever. I think I was 217 this morning. 217, 16 is where I sit at.
Right.
6'1", so
Right. Right. Yeah. So I'm 6, closer to the 6'1" range, and like I find that when I'm in the most peak condition with my body's around that 205, 210 range.
right, and that's what I'm trying to get to, like, because right now, because I mean, because look, no one's gonna look at me and be like, that guy doesn't look like he lifts, like not even that guy that looks out of shape. Like, no, I carry muscle mass, and I do watch what I eat always, but I want to go to the next level. You know, I want to see if I can get like a fighter body without being a fighter. Haven't been able to do that, but I think it's just because when you fight, man, dude, I had to fight to keep weight on because we were worried about me getting too like I mean I should have been a cruiser. There's just no. I mean, I know why I went heavyweight because that's
Right.
where the money was and the opportunity. But I should have been a cruiser, man. Without a doubt, because when I was at like my heaviest training and my diet was dialed in, I would walk around 208, 209, to where my coach was like, okay, you probably should eat more, and I wasn't like not eating, you
Right.
know,
Right.
but a boxing workout is going to easily cook 2,000 calories for the regular day I'm doing,
Right.
and we're doing that every day for 6 days a week. Took Sunday off. You can't keep weight on, man. Like,
Yeah, I'm intrigued with that because that's one thing I would like to start getting into. I haven't done yet is boxing. So
I
um,
think every guy should take an amateur fight, and you're not 35 yet, so you'd be able to fight regular amateurs. Because when you turn 35, you got it's all masters class, like, and then you only fight other guys over 30. I don't think even if you consent to it, they would let you fight somebody who's not over 35.
right.
But I don't exactly remember. So, but I do know 35 is the point where they're like, you gotta submit a CAT scan, I think, to fight and get go. Because all right, not everyone, you won't just show up, right? You got, amateur, you got to get like a checkup and everything, and so they give you your book, and then as a pro levels, they don't do a lot of things for the fighter in boxing, but one of the things one thing you'll never know or you'll never question is whether you have HIV or not, or hepatitis. They make
Right.
sure you ain't got that.
Right.
And you'll know if your retinas work. That's pretty much it. Everything else, well, because those are two permanent things. Like, well, three, I guess. That will happen in boxing. You transmit Hep or HIV via the blood, so you got to check for that, and they got to check your retina. And the really tough states, I think the Pennsylvania is pretty stringent. I fought in Connecticut. They were the most thorough I'd ever seen. I had to actually go to the doctor and get scanned so I could fight. Otherwise, they were like, "All right." So, yeah, all that comes together and works out, and so um, you end up knowing how how healthy how healthy you are if you caught anything that you can't get rid of. But those are career-ending injuries that you
Yeah.
can't fight. That's
Yeah.
what took Tommy Morrison, the father of the guy who knocked me out. That's what took him out the game.
Yeah.
He got HIV, and they were like, "You can't fight no more, man. You crazy?"
That's crazy. So as far as we're going to wind down to the end of the episode, but just wanted to see if there were any people in your life that have been, most influential toward you and the things that you're doing.
I really like the way my coach teaches and the way he conducts himself um, with his students. And I always call him my coach, even though I'm not like a student of his. Tom Yankello. It's very, very. I've learned a lot about education and about. It's funny. He says boxing is all I know how to do, right? And I'm like, okay, but there's an effective method of teaching that clearly not everyone else has because you've had some great successes. And you took me from terrible to good, and there's that. So yeah, watching the way my coach works has been really really useful
Okay.
to my development.
And with that, could you be a coach and say that any type of advice that you impart to our listeners in regards to anything? It doesn't have to be.
Oh yeah, man. I always tell people that like the most powerful belief that you can have is that given enough time, you can learn anything. And I really believe that. And so you could do anything. You know, you ain't gonna make it to the NBA, right? But
Right.
you can probably look if you really wanted to learn how to cross somebody up, you probably be pretty good. You give yourself enough time, practice, you can do it. So when you start looking at everything in that view, right? That okay, it's just gonna take time, and it's just with some diligence and everything. Then you will surprise yourself what you can accomplish, and that's been the story of my life, man. Is like enough time and enough diligence, you're gonna be okay,
Right.
and that's what I would tell everyone.
Awesome, awesome. So, is there besides the book, is there anything in that's coming up next?
Coming up next, nah, everything is gonna be centered around making sure that happens.
Mhm.
And I want to gain and grow my audience, but I want to do it the way I've done it already, which is whatever is natural to me. And what's natural to me is writing, teaching lessons from what I know, build my site. I'll probably build a few more income streams in, because one of the things I learned I worked a lot in Portugal. People don't get that. They think I just went over and
Right,
I
right,
worked a lot. Next time when I go back to Europe, when all this is over, I don't want to work so much, right? So I need to do one of two things, which is either accumulate a whole bunch of money so I ain't got to think about it, or uh, put some more systems in place. And like right now I'm looking ahead, and I have my whiteboard that's kind of everything I got to do, and that is part of the goal and the game. And you'll see some cool stuff is coming.
right, right. That's awesome to hear. So, where can our listeners find you?
Oh, what's great? Anybody who was born after me who wants to be Ed Latimore, person they can't do it, man. They gotta wait till I die.
Right.
'Cause I got Ed Latimore on Twitter, so at Ed Latimore Instagram, at Ed Latimore. My website is edlatimore.com. My Facebook, Ed Latimore. I had to add Boxer because somebody beat me to it, but Ed Latimore Boxer. But yeah, pretty much everywhere, man. You type it into Google, there's a bunch of stuff for me there, and you can go learn and read. And then I love you as a fan, but if you decide I'm not your cup of tea, I wish you nothing but the best for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that's a testament to owning your digital assets so that you can
Oh
get.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because all I have to do is let one of them things slip, and then I got problems
Right.
that
Or
I
so
don't
almost $1
want to
million.
deal with. Yeah,
Just to
someone's
think you're
like, I'll
rich.
sell it to you, and I'm like, God damn it. And I need it, so you're gonna sting me with it.
Right, right, right. All right. Well, this concludes episode 6 of the Phēnyx Lounge. Like I said, I'm glad that we've been able to have Ed on. Now, this has actually been our longest episode, but it's been a lot of great information that you've been able to kind of pass along to us, and I really do appreciate it.
Hey man, I appreciate you having me. I really do, because, like I said, I'm super grateful. Anybody who who thinks that I have something worth saying, yeah, I'll give them something worth listening to.
Right. Right. So, all right, guys, make sure you guys follow Ed Latimore on all forms of social media. Make sure you follow Phēnyx Athletica as well, all forms of social media. And we'll see you again next week.